Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. This is the Mental Wellness channel with Waihiga, and you are listening to An Alcoholic Explains, and this is episode 5, Alcoholism and its effects on family dynamics. Before we get into this episode, I want to thank you all so much for 2,036 subscribers. I'm getting emotional, but thank you so much for each and every one of you. You have no idea what this means to me. When I started this channel in September of 2020, I had no idea that we were going to come this far. I didn't even know why God put it in my heart to start this channel. But I knew that I had to share the message that I have been going through and what God had saved me from an alcoholic death. I had to share with the world. Too many people suffer in silence from this disease of alcoholism. And I meet so many of you every single day. I meet you in the streets. I meet you in the shop. I meet you in public transportation. And we all know that family member that is suffering from alcoholism. We all know someone that is an alcoholic. And this is why I'm here doing this show, talking to you an episode at a time, just trying to help you understand what this crazy, baffling disease called alcoholism is. And that as an alcoholic in recovery, it is possible. It is more than possible for your loved one to recover. Also, a special shout out to one of my subscribers that I met the other day, and that is Victor. Thank you so much for your support. And this is to each and every one of my subscribers. Thank you for your support. You have no idea how much it means to me and this channel. Thank you. Alcoholism and its effects on family dynamics. Obviously, alcoholism, often referred to now as alcohol use disorder, is a chronic disease characterized by an inability to control alcohol consumption, despite its negative consequences. It affects millions of individuals worldwide, transcending cultural, economic, and social boundaries. While the impact of alcoholism on the individual is well documented, its ripple effects on family dynamics are equally just as profound, often leading to emotional, psychological, and financial instability. Families are the foundational unit of society, and when one member struggles with alcoholism, it can disrupt the entire family's balance, creating a cycle of dysfunction that can last for generations. And can I get an amen? Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? I know these days we are so focused and concentrated on speaking of generational curses. And I believe alcoholism is one of those. You know, as much as alcoholism is a disease, I also believe it's a generational curse. If it's not addressed in this generation, it will certainly continue the cycle to the next generation and the next generation and the next generation. And I feel privileged that God has seen it fit for me to be the generational breaker of alcoholism in my family, in this generation. It's not an easy thing. I nearly lost my life to this thing. Obviously, alcoholism affects the family. When one person in the family drinks alcoholically, it affects each and every single member of that family, whether they want to admit it or not. Right? When I was drinking, I thought the only person that I was hurting was myself. In honesty, total honesty. And I'm being totally transparent. This is how ignorant and this is how selfish and self-absorbed we are as addicts and alcoholics. Or I will say myself. This is how self-absorbed, entitled, and selfish. I was, and still can be. But I really was when I was engaged in my drinking. I thought the only person that I was hurting was myself. I'm not hurting my family. I'm not drinking with them. Am I drinking with them? Am I drinking their alcohol? No. Am I drinking in their house? No. So they have no reason to be upset. No reason to be worried. They have absolutely no reason, because after all, I am an adult and I'm doing adult things. And the adult things I'm doing are drinking. And that is my business and no one else's. And they must just leave me alone. Yeah. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm not hurting anybody but myself. And that's okay. I'm entitled to hurt myself. On the other side of the tracks, my family, especially my parents, had sleepless nights. I didn't know this until I was in recovery. My parents had sleepless nights. 2 a.m., midnight, 1 a.m., 3 a.m., wondering where I was. My parents would drive to police stations looking for me. My parents would call my friends, unbeknownst to me, and ask, "Where is Waihiga? Have you seen Waihiga?" My parents would drive to the places I used to live at. Obviously, I wasn't there anymore. I had moved to the places that I could get booze 24/7, and that was a bar. I had moved. Instead of being at the apartment or the location where I told my parents that I'm living at, I was now completely, totally locked myself up in a bar somewhere. My phone was always off, if I even had a phone. And the police actually suggested to them one time, you should be tracking this phone. Whenever it's switched on, you track this number and then you find her location. But me being the alcoholic I am, and with the friends I was with, right? We were all like 10 steps ahead. We're like, yeah, our parents are probably tracking us, right? So all of us, we need to remove our phones. We need to remove the batteries out of our phones. We need to remove the SIM cards out of the phones. And then we just leave the phones there. We'd only use our phones when it's time to manipulate, scam someone for money, for the next mzinga. Otherwise, why am I keeping on my phone? So that people can hit me up, where are you? I don't want to explain where I am. I'm somewhere getting really messed up. That's what I'm doing. This business of phones. I used to take my phone and I give it to the bartender. Give it to the bartender, keep this, and then keep the Guinnesses coming. Keep the Guinnesses coming. And then if I have money at the end of the evening, I'll pay you. If not, you keep the phone. Or I'll just get robbed. You know how sloppy drunk I used to be? Of course, I wasn't able to keep a phone. So, of course, emotional and psychological impact. What is the emotional and psychological impact of alcoholism on the family? Alcoholism deeply affects the emotional and psychological well-being of all family members. The unpredictable behavior of an alcoholic family member can lead to an environment filled with tension, anxiety, and fear. Children in particular may develop issues such as low self-esteem, anxiety, depression, and even resentment towards the alcoholic parent. Spouses often struggle with feelings of helplessness, guilt, and frustration, sometimes developing their own mental issues in response to the stress. The emotional turmoil caused by alcoholism can strain relationships, leading to frequent conflict, lack of trust, and emotional withdrawals. Yes, this is what happens. And if you are the child of an alcoholic, if you are the spouse of an alcoholic, I really suggest to you right now that you go to a program called Al-Anon. For alcoholics, we have AA. And for the friends and family of alcoholics, you guys have a program. And that program is called Al-Anon. It is a free program. You can go online. Go Google. Google online and see Al-Anon. Online meetings. Where can I find Al-Anon in my city, in my town, in my country? Because alcoholism is a family disease. Yes, I may be the one drinking, and maybe you're not drinking. But the dysfunction that alcoholism brings is not only to the alcoholic, it's to the whole family. The whole family starts acting dysfunctional. The whole family is filled with anxiety, depression, resentment, fear, guilt, helplessness, frustration, stress, and mental issues. I could be the alcoholic, and I told you, I used to be out. I used to think that I'm not hurting anyone because I disappear for 2 weeks and I do my drinking, all my bad manners outside of the house. I go and I drink for 2 weeks. I drink vizuri and then I come back home. And then I stay home and I'm sick, I'm going through my hangovers. I'm thinking, oh, my parents, they shouldn't be worried or anything because I'm back, right? On their side, they've been worried for the past 2 weeks, wondering where I am. That's made the family dysfunctional. Was life able to go on as usual day to day? They didn't know if I was coming back today. They didn't know if I was coming back tonight. How were people supposed to function? They didn't know if I was alive. They didn't know if I was dead. They simply did not know. Do they continue on with their own plans? Or do they stop their lives and start searching for Waihiga? What do they do? One member of their family has been missing for 2 weeks. How do you explain that to other families? How do you explain that to your relatives? How do you explain that to Shosho or, your grandmother when she calls home and she says, I want to speak to Waihiga? How do you explain that we actually don't know where she is? She's currently missing. So alcoholism is a family illness. I may be the alcoholic and I may be the only one drinking in this family. However, I made everybody sick in this family by my behaviors. 2, disruption of family roles. In families where alcoholism is present, traditional roles become blurred or reversed. Children may have to take on responsibilities beyond their years, such as caring for younger siblings or managing household responsibilities, essentially becoming parentified in the absence of a stable adult figure. This role reversal can rob children of a normal childhood and force them to mature too quickly. Spouses might find themselves in the role of enabler, either consciously or unconsciously, as they try to manage the alcoholic's behavior and maintain a semblance of normalcy. These disruptions can lead to long-term damage in the way the family members interact with each other, often perpetuating a cycle of dysfunction. This is very true. I'm the firstborn in the family. I'm the oldest in the family. Yet my youngest sister, I believe the time she was probably 14, had to grow up very quickly because Waihiga was nowhere to be seen. Nowhere to be seen. Or I was not responsible. I just wasn't around. Or nobody could trust me to do the big sister thing. I was not around to do the big sister thing. I was definitely not the big sister role model. And, those things that you're supposed to do as a big sister, taking your little sister out to the mall, driving your little sister out to her friends' houses for sleepovers, showing your sister what to do during her first period, things like that. I was not there for any of that. I was out there drinking. Also, one of the parents, or turning the parents into enablers. I heavily horned on my dad and his love for me. And I really manipulated the hell out of that love, to try, and I squeezed as much as I could out of my dad, money-wise, and just the way that he saw me. Because my dad always believes the best in me, has always believed the best in me, has always tried to reason with me, and has always put in a good word for me. And when I was drinking, I used that goodwill, and I completely took advantage of it. Completely took advantage of his love. And I would call and demand money, or give a sob story about how I need money, I'm in trouble, and get money, and then switch off the phone. It was an awful thing to do, very many times. Third thing is the financial implications of alcoholism can be devastating. So the financial strain on the family. Alcoholism often leads to job loss, reduced productivity, and increased absenteeism, which can result in significant financial difficulties for the family. Money that would otherwise be spent on basic needs such as food, housing, and education might instead be diverted towards the purchase of alcohol or related expenses such as medical bills due to alcohol-related health issues. The financial instability can add another layer of stress, exacerbating the emotional and psychological toll on the family. This is a really sad story, but in 2015, that December, or was it 2016? Yeah, around that 2015 December, I'd been taken to rehab during that year. It was my first time in rehab. My parents spent a lot of money to put me in rehab. Very privileged, of course, to even be in a position to be taken to rehab. I got out of rehab. I stayed sober for a month or less. And then I drank. And the rest of 2015 was just like that. Drinking. And then December, I tried to take my own life. It didn't work, but it nearly did. And I had to be admitted into hospital. And I basically drained my parents' retirement fund, staying in HDU for, I think it was a week. Because I tried to, end my life. I had tried to unalive myself. I ended up in a very, very bad situation. My dad found me completely unconscious. An ambulance had to be called. You know how expensive that is. I had to be taken to a hospital. Medications, diagnoses had to be made. I had to be brought back to consciousness. I mean, a lot of things had to happen. And it cost a lot of money. And I still had the audacity. As soon as I could walk, after being released from the hospital, as soon as I could walk, I still had the audacity to go drink. After my parents or my dad had explained to me, we spent everything we had. So, when they said family implications, I mean financial implications, it's true. But even that itself could not keep me sober. Even knowing that I had drained them of their retirement fund. To me, as an alcoholic, it made me feel guilty. It made me feel shame. And it made me even want to drink more. And so that's what I did. I went and I drank more. A normal person would have been like, this is the situation that ended me wanting to take my life. I need to stop drinking. Obviously, this is the problem. An alcoholic goes, no, this is the solution. Everything else is the problem. Obviously, joblessness. In recovery, I've spent a lot of time in joblessness. But this year, finally, God has been gracious and He's opened up the floodgates of heaven for me. And right now I have 4 working opportunities. That's why I haven't been really able to do this podcast as often as I want to. I've been so busy. But it's only by the grace of God. In active alcoholism, you really can't hold down a job unless you're a functioning alcoholic. And high-functioning alcoholics, they don't do their best jobs. They just do the bare minimum, really. So we have intergenerational transmission. That's number 4. The effects of alcoholism can extend beyond the immediate family, affecting future generations. Children who grow up in alcoholic households are at a higher risk of developing alcoholism themselves or entering into relationships with alcoholic partners. They may also carry the emotional scars in adulthood, impacting their ability to form healthy relationships or function effectively in society. The cycle of alcoholism and its associated dysfunction can thus be perpetuated, with the effects rippling through generations. 5. Impact on communication and socialization. Healthy communication is often the first casualty in a family affected by alcoholism. The constant presence of alcohol-related issues can lead to communication breakdowns, where family members stop expressing their needs and concerns. This lack of communication fosters isolation both within the family unit and from the outside world. Families may withdraw from social activities, friends, and extended family members due to the stigma associated with alcoholism, further deepening the isolation and entrenching the dysfunctional dynamics. I mean, this is so true. How many of you family members have I met who you have an alcoholic in your family, you know of an alcoholic, and you've withdrawn from society because you're so ashamed. You have so much shame about this person. And that's the thing about this disease of alcoholism. It thrives in the presence of shame. It thrives in darkness. So what I really want you to take home from this episode is that, 1, alcoholism is a disease. 2, alcoholism is a family disease. 3, the whole family is sick. Right? The whole family is sick. And everybody needs to get help. So alcoholism is not just a personal struggle. Of course it's not. It is a family disease that can erode the very foundation of familial relationships. The emotional, psychological, financial, and social impacts of alcoholism on family dynamics are profound and far-reaching, often affecting multiple generations. Addressing alcoholism within the family context requires a comprehensive approach, including support for both the alcoholic and their family members. Recovery is not just about overcoming addiction. It's so much deeper than that. It's also about healing the family unit and restoring healthy dynamics. By recognizing the extensive effects of alcoholism on family, society can better support those in need, fostering resilience and recovery for both individuals and their loved ones. So I urge you, especially family members and friends, loved ones of an alcoholic, do yourself the biggest favor you can in the world and get yourself into an Al-Anon meeting today. You cannot change the alcoholic. You cannot change the alcoholic. Nothing you do will ever convince the alcoholic to stop drinking. So what you need to do is you need to focus on a program that can help you. Because whether you like it or not, whether you want to admit it or not, you being tied with the life of an alcoholic has made you sick. And you need to heal from that. I want to thank you so much for listening to this episode. Thank you so much for all your support. Tune in to the next episode, hopefully next week. I plan to do this on weekends since the week is so busy. Let me know what you think about this episode. Let me know what your experiences are with an alcoholic. Do you have an alcoholic in your life? We all know an alcoholic in our family. What has your experience with that alcoholic been? Let me know in the comment section down below. Until the next video, bye guys.